Trying to recognize some of your own buildings?
Oh, yeah. If it's been kept painted, it's structurally sound.
Yes. Are you?
First of all, actually,
We got Manchester on there, we got Portsmouth, we may have some Concord.
If it's like a condemned building, it doesn't look like it looks like.
To a certain degree, yes.
Here, all these bushes here, they should be cut away.
Double check
this
on
is obstruction
on the actual video slide, but these are all within 1 to 3 years old.
Against
probably 2 to 3 years old.
Having this
whenever we do inspections anywhere,
I know it looks all nice and
we try to do what's called downtown water.
Probably loves plants and doesn't want to cut these plants out, but
are we on, Gary?
Cut away all these bushes.
Perfect.
I do see some rust. I do see more paint than rust, though.
So I'll just wait for Bob to do the introduction, but basically what you're looking at is free online under our Farscape Academy channel. It's called Farscape Academy.
First off, I see that
you can watch this at home.
The square head bolts.
You can forward any one of these videos to your guys. We have playlists from different areas. So we took all the walk around, which are usually 2 to 5 minutes long.
50 to 75 years, so.
And it's just a random, so nobody called me about this. So we just walked in the alleyways and we saw something and said, let's make it some class. And we use that just to teach your fire inspectors how to look at fire escapes without having to physically get on them and hurt yourself. Because a lot of these fire escapes are hand grenades with the pins already pulled out. And the only thing you need to do is just give it a slight kick and this thing is ready to hurt somebody.
So I do see a lot of rust, not a lot, but a good amount of surface rust. So definitely.
So a lot of these videos are probably 2 to 3 years old. Some of the best videos that you'll see now is actually classes where I walk around with inspectors and do one-on-one training. I walk around with building commissioners, do one-on-one training, and that's the one you kind of want to see.
Actually, I do see here.
So I'll forward a couple of this until I get Bob to come on down.
And we definitely don't want that. Say for running violation, it would be repair, paint, and test fire escape. Do you have any further questions?
This is one in Manchester. I think it's a cantilever. We'll let it play for a little bit. So Bob comes down.
Farscape Academy Inspector Training Videos. We're here in Manchester, New Hampshire, and we're looking at fire escapes. 2 things you need. This is the Audrey's Musical World building, an alleyway. That's the aluminum fire escape. Fire escape must be structurally sound, must be kept painted.
I'm just letting them watch a couple of videos.
Just on the paint side, it's got more paint than rust.
You guys to move to the front.
And it looks like it does. It's got more paint than rust. So
I said there's a raffle going on at the end that you're doing.
Structural issues. See if we have any structural issues that have been here for a while.
Caribbean, New Hampshire.
This
right between mine
and
and
Caribou, New Hampshire. Caribbean.
No, that's Caribou, Maine. But it's close enough.
On a car or drop on people's heads. Look at this channel in the back, blown out. This whole thing has been rotting for 25 years. Why nobody ever wrote a violation on this is beyond me. But that chain is a giveaway that this whole cantilever is out of balance. There's no release arm. All the joints on this fire escape are shot. The treads, somebody looks like they removed all the treads. They rebolted the treads with some new hex head bolts. And in our previous training videos, if they were square, you need to change all these square ones to hex head. They already did that, but they forgot to remove the rust. That's in all the stringer clips connections to the treads. So you just don't change bolts, you also have to remove the rust. So here you have a fire escape that's structurally unbalanced, not structurally sound, and this weight box, this rotten weight box, is ready to collapse and drop on somebody's head. So this is a life safety issue here. Probably been hit a few times by trucks because this is an alleyway. But
a lot of times when we do these classes, we'll actually show you. We'll tell you we're at the corner of Tremont and Maine. So we'll give you an idea more or less where we're at.
If you have any questions on this or any other videos that you've seen, give us a call at 866-649-0333, firescapesengineers.com. The website. You can also go online to YouTube video and visit our channel there. It's called Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training. And take a look at this and many other videos that we do nationwide on how to help inspectors write better violations. And this violation should be repair, paint, test. Never write a scrape and paint violation, because believe it or not, if you wrote a scrape And paint violation on this fire escape, they would just paint this blob of steel and try to get away with it. So make sure you write repair, paint violations only, never write scrape and paint violations. Any engineer inspecting this would definitely condemn this box, and this majority of this fire escape has structural issues throughout. As always, you can always get some additional information from us. Free fire escape awareness program we can do for your city. That includes industry standard confidence tests, tags, load test criteria, as well as repair procedure criteria. Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training Video.
Right.
Here's a rare case, an all aluminum replacement fire.
Okay. I think you guys already know why you're here. You don't have to go through a lot of formalities. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. How you doing today? Good. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it very much. Cisco here is going to talk to you about fire escape, safety, fire escape inspections, etc. I briefed him this morning on the fact that New Hampshire is a little bit different than a lot of states, whereby the state of New Hampshire has Life Safety Code 101, which is their overarching safety code that they use, but each individual jurisdiction may have different codes, building codes, different enforcement procedures, etc., inspection procedures. So he's got a little bit of a challenge in front of him today. Hopefully you guys can get some information on fire escape safety, inspection procedures, etc., that you can take back to your communities and either enhance what you're doing already or share some of the information that you have and maybe build a program that you don't have in place currently. This is something new that we're doing here. This is the first time Cisco's been up here, and this is the first time we've hosted a seminar like this. So I'm grateful to see you guys here. We were hoping for a little bit of a larger turnout, but situations being what they are, etc., we can fully understand that. What I would ask, though, is if you get some good information out of this, okay, spread it around, that this information is out there, and I'm sure that we can work with Cisco to come back and do this again if need be. If the need is there, which is definitely something we can come back and do again. That all being said, I'm going to turn over to Cisco in a second, but I just got to do my regular Fire Academy routine of all of the procedures and policies and everything else that we have. If you guys need to have something to drink, you can go ahead and do that. You can bring it in here. We used to have rules where you didn't have anything to drink in the classrooms. You now can do that. We have all this brand new carpet, so feel free. Just don't spill anything on it because it's going to get cranky. However, you can eat, drink, etc. in the classrooms again. Ladies' rooms and restrooms, men's room, right out in the hallway. You probably already know where they are. They're right out here by the lobby. If the fire alarm does go off, it is not a drill. Please exit the building, follow the exit signs. You guys can determine whatever you want to do as far as your assembly location outside, but your best bet is probably just go right back out the front door. Has everybody filled out one of the application forms this morning? Okay, that again is a new policy, and I probably explained it, you already know because we talked about it a little bit beforehand. But when we have seminars and workshops that the Academy is hosting, we're not going to be doing pre-registrations unless it's required for the presenter where they need to develop the appropriate amount of materials. So if we don't do pre-registrations, the registration forms will be here for you to fill out when you get here. So everybody just fill one of those things out. This is a CREFT program, and it will be on your transcript here at the Academy. So that's all I have to say about that. I'm going to turn it over to Cisco. Have a great time. Learn a whole bunch of stuff. And again, if you get some good, solid information out of this, which I really hope that you will, take it back to your jurisdictions, talk it up amongst your friends, talk it up amongst your colleagues, and if there's something that you want us to bring back again, let us know. Deal directly with Cisco if you want, or contact me, because we'll be in contact with each other again, and we'll bring it back. How's that sound? Cool. All right, Cisco, thank you very much. Take it away, have a good time.
As I mentioned before to some of you who heard, I'm going to put on a couple pieces of video, but the rest of it I'm going to be speaking with you, then I'm going to open it up. It's back and forth. The most important part here is that what you are about to hear here is a problem that's a nationwide problem. This is not just a New Hampshire problem. This is a Massachusetts problem, a Washington, D.C. problem, a Chicago problem, a Texas problem, a Seattle problem, and an L.A. problem. So as we play some of these videos, we're going to show you and train you, and we're going to talk about industry standard documentation, which we have here. And I'm going to cover all these pieces And from this, we're going to create a book for you that basically has a CD of this class. So this class is getting recorded, but there's many other classes that we've had 100, 200 people in there that we also recorded. So you don't have to just watch this class. You can watch any class, and it's on online. We on Firescape Academy under YouTube. Just that's all you have to type in, Firescape Academy. And you can watch Seattle seminars, Portland seminars, watch various inspectors and people walking the streets with me and looking at fire escapes. Okay? So with that being said, let me see if I can play you this first one. And this is a fireman's worst nightmare when it comes to the second means of egress. Because when you show up at a fire, you're supposed to be doing what to the fire? Fighting the fire, right? You don't go to fires to do rescue missions, do you? So, but whenever you have fire escapes that are not properly maintained, not working correctly, you get there and you have a problem with the fire escape. Is it you fighting a fire or are you doing a rescue mission? So, this just happened not a month ago.
But right now, firefighters are taking down the ladders and rolling up the hoses. But earlier in the night, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, is that scary, scary stuff? They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in their fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
Well, about 50 people were displaced inside this building. However, firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in, except the one unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson, on the scene of Bridgeport, News 8.
All right, the next one I'm going to show you is a Channel 7 news piece with good old Hank Philippi Ryan. But before I get to Hank Philippi Ryan, what do you think about that? It's only a 50-second piece that says what happened in Bridgeport, which, as you guys know, that next day, I believe, they lost some firefighters. Not on this particular situation, they lost some firefighters. And then I think Stanford lost some firefighters on another project, on another fire. But get into a fire, and all of a sudden, here you are, the first thing you're concerned about. That was a great shot of an 8-year-old child on a fire escape. And what does he mean, stuck on a fire escape? How can you get stuck on a fire escape? The only way you get stuck on a fire escape is that the ladder didn't come down or the cantilever didn't come down. Because you're supposed to self-evacuate off a fire escape. They're made for self-evacuation. They're there for the tenants only, for them to get out of that building, away from the fire, and whether you guys show up a minute, an hour later, it doesn't matter. They've self-evacuated. Because that was the answer back when you only needed one means of egress inside and a second means of egress outside. Now you don't, they stopped that in 1930. Now every building in the country is built with 2. Okay? But some of these older buildings that were supposed to be gone by now are duct tape, paper clipped, and held together with bubble gum. And guess what also got stuck on the back and stayed? Now when they've evacuated and they've gone away, guess who shows up and uses it? Because now what are these firemen doing to get these people off the fire escape? Jumping on the very same fire escape? Or are they wasting time getting ladders? So right now there's a blazing fire on one apartment going at it. And can they focus on that at all? So you might lose the building with the minutes that go roll on by as you're just taking these people gingerly off this fire escape. And in some of your volunteer forces, you don't got a lot of people to deal with. So you're turning into a rescue mission to get these people off just so you can let the building burn to the ground. Because once it gets hold and it gets out of your control, you got to step back. You got to surround and drown. So that's what happened here. But then also at the end, they said, hey, they got everybody off. So it became a rescue mission, not anything else. And the fire by itself stayed in one apartment. And it's a 50-apartment building. So this is what we're trying to talk about fire escapes. Now, do you guys remember the Station 9 fire? Right after that, Hank Philippi Ryan called around, and she happened to call us. So she didn't call us specifically. She called around looking, said, listen, I want to do a story on fire escapes and tell people that in case of fire, you can get out, the second means of egress, because of this horrible accident that happened in Rhode Island. I told her that I've been inspecting for so many years that 75% or more of the fire escapes I inspect, including some of the major institutions in Boston, fail inspection. She goes, that's impossible. You know, you have laws there that says you must inspect them every 5 years. It's in the codes. You know, we got inspectors, we got fire inspectors, we got everybody. That's impossible. I says, well, why don't you come down with me? And I took her down to the theater district down by where the Wang Theater is. And all I did was basically gave her a 15-minute training. Training of, here's a blown out gusset, here's a broken tread, here's blown out cement. Big, heavy, in-your-face kind of problems. Not the, oh, can you see the fine line of rust? Nothing like that. And then after that, she says, you know, okay, take me around and let's look at fire escapes. I says, no, walk any way you want. You tell me if any of the fire escapes you inspect now pass. And she walked the theater district, and she failed every fire escape that was there. Then she said, took it upon herself to go up into the Beacon Hill and around the area to various communities by herself, and her crew, obviously. And this is the piece that she came out with that was supposed to be a 1-minute piece saying, you got fire escapes available to you. This is what she came up with.
Oh, the flames and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him.
Oh, I was scared to death.
But the fire escape that broke underneath him.
Well, the railing just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes. Rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So then over here? For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Right.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one, a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files.
But there's no fire escape certification.
To see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes.
Did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
Not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away with that?
I guess the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this? No?
But when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn, the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Wright.
So, let me now set this thing up so that she didn't believe, you know, the information that we had given her, and all of a sudden she went on and improved it. This is the Farscape Academy, and as you can see, we have probably 550 videos, and these are all the previous seminars we've done, walk-arounds, so I'll share some of those with you in a little bit, okay? But now let's get into the class, and let's talk about that video and what came from that. You know, what are some of the things you can do in regards to the immediate aftermath? That was done, does anybody remember the Station 9 fire? Was it 2003, 2004? 2003. We did this in 2003. 8 years later, guess what kind of farscape reform there has been? None. So, we've, actually we go back one. The immediate aftermath of that is, which started helping a little bit, is immediately in the city of Boston, because the building department is the one that controls the inspections, not the fire department. In all 50 states, about 40 states, the fire department takes over. After the building department builds it, the fire department takes over and watches it for the lifetime of the building. In 40 states. In some states, it's the building department that not only builds it, but then they also have some inspection routine going on. Elevators, sprinklers, and such and such and such. It's not the fire department. It's actually all on top of the building department for 10 states. Massachusetts being one of those states where the building department is the one I answer to when it comes to inspecting a farscape. And they have an affidavit, and they have a certification process, okay? And we're teaching a class, as a matter of fact, on the 26th of this month, down in Reading, Mass. If any of you want to send some of your building department guys, that's a class that actually the Association of Building Inspectors that Boston belongs to is going to be in that class. So that's a pretty big class that we're going to have. So, the first thing that they did, let me give you some tricks right off the bat. And I mentioned this to a couple of you guys here, because I did a brief interview with Scotty and what's the other gentleman? Ken. And they made it so that you pull any permit in your city, you cannot close a permit unless you have a current affidavit. So you want to work with your subcode official or your building department, you make them say, you get any building, any permit that gets pulled, issue the permit. Do not close any permit if there's a farscape, if the second means of egress is identified to be outside, you cannot close that permit. So you're going to start automatically picking up picking up certificates on buildings that people are spending money on, trading them, selling them, doing something. So you can't close the permit until, so somebody does a bathroom, does a roof, does a porch, all of a sudden now you've got this trigger that says, do you have a second means of egress and is it outside? Yes. I need a certificate in order to close your permit. Number two, how many, in order to occupy an apartment or to get an occupancy permit, what do you need? Who's the last guy walking in, checking the slopes? You make it a checklist. You add it to your checklist, because if the smoke goes off, most smoke detectors go off at night or in the daytime. And if you're at night, are you in your kitchen or are you in your bedroom? And if you're in your bedroom, where are you going to jump to? The front stairs, or are you going to jump to the fire escape that's right outside your window? So somehow, some way, tie in a request that when you do your final walkthrough and you're issuing a certificate, okay, for the smoke detectors, you ask for a copy of. You're not ordering a fire escape inspection. You're asking for a copy of the last fire escape inspection that they've done, so you can attach it to your paperwork. And if they say, I don't have one, what do you say? Get one. And it's your choice. Either issue the certificate to them for the smokes, because sometimes people will make noise about that, but they already got a violation that's on it. And now, even though you handed them the certificate, can they occupy the building if they don't have a smoke, if they have a fire escape that's suspect? So, you know, if they say, no, I don't have one, and I don't even know we were supposed to get one, you can now choose. You can give it a quick eyeball from the ground. I'm going to teach you how to look at fire escapes, and say, you get this done within 7 days, I'll let you occupy by the end of the month. You don't get it done, you don't get this process started, you know, here's your smokes, but you're not getting in this building anyway. I won't let you.
It's a great concept, but it's never going to happen.
What's the cost of a inspection from you guys?
Great question, not just us guys. Let's talk about who can inspect. Fire escape engineers,
Yeah.
which are people that have licenses of some sort, they can inspect fire escapes, and structural engineers. You know any structural engineers in your area? Most structural engineers will charge you anywhere from $75 to $175 plus, depending if you want some really high-end guy. But on average, $75 to $175 an hour for an inspection. They usually want to get anywhere from 3 to 5 hours, including travel time and report generation, but no more than 10. So if you get a guy that's on average of $150 as an example per hour, and he's got if he's got 10 hours, he's going to get $1,500 from that inspection. If he's got it for 5 hours, he's got a $750 inspection. On average, the inspection rates that we have for typical inspections is $189 to $489 for typical residential. Commercial applications run from $489 to $989. But we're not the only ones that can do it. Structural engineers, $75 to $175, and some of them start the clock only when they arrive. They can give you some documentation. We'll tell you what kind of documentation you should expect from these people, because you don't want these one typed letter forms that they send out that says to the fire escape has some rust, some expansion, some deflection. It means nothing. You want photographs. I'm going to show you what that's all about. So let me see if there's any other tricks that they have for you. And you mentioned that it's never going to happen. Why?
There's no possible way for a city besides Nashua to have money to ensure that the fire or building inspectors are on top. You need more than one full-time person just to do fire escape.
Right, no, you are correct. And in many cities they used to have lots, and now with all the costs and reductions, you have 1.5.
Right.
You know, but all this is just a trick, and it's getting it on a list. As soon as you get it on a list that says I pulled a permit, somebody at the permit process saying has added to the checklist, I just came in for a change of toilets. And all of a sudden, I'm ready to close my permit, and at the very bottom it says, is your means of egress inside or outside? It's a checklist item. It just reminds the guy who was ever on the checklist of the building department saying, before I can close this, is you have an inside stair or an outside stair? Outside stair. Okay, in order for me to close this, I just need, I need a copy of your current certificate. Do you have one? No. All right, go get me one, then I can close this permit. But your inspector already went there and checked the toilet, everything's fine, but now this is a pending file. Then you also have these occupancy issues where you guys do walk in and check the smokes. And you say, okay, I need to check the smokes. Okay, do you have an inside or outside thing? So it's nothing but a checklist item. This should be a full-time activity for somebody, but until then, these checklist items just helps keep it as an awareness, meaning you're using the same way with sprinklers we talked about. If you accept sprinkler forms, you modify your sprinkler form to say, do you have an internal or external means of egress? External, great. With every sprinkler form, because it's already part of your sprinkler form, it says if your egress is external, you must, with the sprinkler form every year, you must submit a current fire escape affidavit. Because the sprinklers go off, I'm heading to a main stair if it's not blocked, or I'm heading to the fire escape. So there it is, yes.
What says they have to do that?
You say you have to do it. There's a couple things that you have to do. One is, and I got around this.
I can't invent code.
I know. Here's how it works. Nationwide, I get the same problem. Ready? You can do an ordinance. You can do, through the fire code, you can create some sort of administrative rule. But here's the best one that I got out of a state official in Massachusetts. He goes, you don't need to do any of that stuff. You just need to create what's called a policy. And if you create this form that says your policy is that you follow some sort of national guideline that says all fire escapes will have tags, all fire escapes will have confidence tests, all fire escapes will be inspected every 5 years. You're not creating code, you're basically saying you're trying to follow a policy, and that this is the policy and guidelines that you're following to the best of your ability. So they have nationwide, and for example, Seattle, they didn't have any fire escape code, so they made an administrative rule change, and that takes 1 to 3 years to do that. Some say, no, I'm just going to go to my local councilman, and we're going to get a meeting of the city councilman, and just basically say, we want to have an ordinance in this city that says all fire escapes must have a confidence test and a certificate on file every 5 years. Oh, there it is. But then policy, you guys write policies all the time, right? Don't you have a policy and guideline books that you guys sort of create for sheds and for, different things that pop up, wood stoves and sort of this little policy thing. We have that policy that we've written out in a document that we can provide you. We put your name and number on the top and all the information there. And it's a policy guidelines for how do you inspect it, policy guidelines how to repair it, and policy guidelines on how you paint it. So whenever you get a question that somebody says, well, how do you want me to inspect it? You say, well, follow these guidelines, more or less. Because of this lack of knowledge, we've also started the National Firescape Association.org. And a lot of these videos are there. A lot of this industry standard documentation is there. It's already up online. National Firescape Association.org. And what that is, its memberships, we're looking at launching it fully April of this year. Its members is firefighters, building inspectors, vendors, structural engineers, and all the people that have any and all information that they want to throw at this one common place, a library of knowledge. We currently have all the knowledge, believe it or not. You go online, you start searching firescape repair, firescape inspection, firescape seminar. We're the only ones, so we felt that there was a need to put an association together. And our intentions right now is to have all firefighters and all building inspectors have free membership into it. So as soon as we get it up all and running, the website is already up, it already has some things, but it's under construction. But you can already start seeing a lot of stuff there that basically was our stuff that we said, we have to bring it over someplace where people can massage it and get it for free, and the National Firescape Association has it there. And you can watch videos, and you can, a lot of the information I'm about to give you is already online there, but if you need to put together a firescape awareness program for your city, we help you put it together. But in the future, for 2012, our choice is to do reform. This class that we taught here, we taught the same exact class in Portland, Oregon. Now, they took it one step further. They just changed their state code. Their state code is now going to reflect everything I'm about to tell you today, and it goes effective January 15th. So about 4 to 5 months ago, I gave them a class, but this is already my third or fourth class I've given them over a 3-year period. So sometimes it is molasses, you know, in the winter, rolling up a hill. But those are the options. You can just use a standard policy. You know, you'll write it as a policy. So even when I send you my policy, you can copy and paste and put it in your standard Word documents that you guys use, and just say, here's a policy that we copied from a national association as what should be the more or less standard, because I don't know anything about this stuff, so we're using this as a guideline. So that's what I'm about to send you. But these are just some of the tricks on how to start making it a checklist item. Okay? So let's talk about load testing. This class is going to be about guarantees, right? So this right here, it's an aged photograph, but it's one of the best photographs you have out there because it's calling, and I'm going to explain to you what a live load test is. This is a live load test. There are lives on it, and they're testing it, and we hope we get a good result. Because you know what the passing grade looks like, but what's a fail grade look like? Dead people on the ground with fire escape pieces on them. So I'm going to show you a ton of live load testing that didn't go so well as this one. And I'm going to explain live load testing to you today. But basically, let me see if we can get to when writing a violation, 75 years. Let me give you a little bit, very quick history of fire escapes. Fire escapes were started in the 1900s as an answer to these buildings that all had one set of stairs. Plenty of fires, plenty of people cooking and trying to heat their buildings, catching on fire. A lot of times the main stair catches on fire. Guess what these people have to do in order to get out? Jump out. Guess what they were caught in? These round donuts that these guys said, jump, jump, come on down. That was the fire escape plan. You basically would jump down into one of these things because there was no fire escape. So then they said, let's build fire escapes. So in the 1880s through the 1930s, they built nothing but fire escapes from Washington, D.C., any coast, any industrial city. They did nothing but build fire escapes on pre-existing structures. And the stairs in the front, you put a fire escape in the back. Nobody was maintaining them, nobody was doing anything, and they started saying, you know what, this is a foolish thing. So in 1930, when the Uniform Building Code started swapping around into other things, they said, you know what, from now on, all interior staircases from now, 2 means of egress. Put them inside, none of this outside stuff. And if you have elevators, I want an elevator, and still 2 means of egress on the inside. There's your current code. So today, you hear this word that comes out, no new fire escape. You are 100% correct. No new fire escapes can be built on new construction. But if you have an existing structure, I can build fire escapes till the cows come home. And why is that? Because you get into a mansion, you get into a building where they have a central stair, the only answer, they can't gut this building without tearing it down. And it's protected by historical or hysterical, depending which way you call it. And the only means to get a second means of egress is a fire escape. And you deny them, they will get it. Because you are misquoting the code. The code says no new construction can have fire escapes on it, but all pre-existing I got a mansion and I'm going to make 4 condos out of it, I'm going to answer the means of egress with a fire escape. Because that's what the code says. Unless you have some special code that specifically prohibits, and okay, then you got this thing that you sort of, and that happens every now and then. I got, you know, the code says you can, but then all of a sudden said, no, we went specifically to write a code that says you can, just so that people stop chopping up these mansions. You know what I'm saying? So that has happened. But on average, fire escapes are still here to answer any pre-existing structure, get their fire escape. Okay? So now the load test is what we're going to be talking about right now. That's a 3x5 platform. Okay? 100 pounds per square foot is the average for a fire escape. It's overbuilt. 3 times 5 is 15 square feet times 100 pounds per square feet. That's 1,500 pounds. I'm going to load test it for you. Every platform, every tread on this fire escape has to be load tested for 30 minutes, and I'll show you load testing in a second. And I got to take sand, lead, water, whatever I can find that weighs 1,500 pounds besides humans, and I got to put the load on there, and I got to watch it for 30 minutes. I got to load 40% immediately, take measurements, and then hold deflection. It can't deflect more than 3/16 of an inch. Look at that. And that is to test the connections into the wall. I take my measurement. Then after 10 minutes of 40% of my load, I put the full load on, and I sit there and watch. You guys know what a pass grade looks like, right? What's the fail grade look like with all my water and all my sand on there? So there's the first problem. You know how many, I'm 50 years old, 51 actually, my birthday was just January 7th. Thank you for not sending the cards. But I've been hijacked into this business since my dad hijacked me at 10 years old. In 40 years, you know how many fire escape load tests I've ever done? In California. And not because you guys ordered me, because the owner of the 10-story building said, I want a load test, I want a load test, I want a load test. So we did one. It's not something that's done very, very often because the result of a fail is horrific. But you guys want some guarantees, right? You want guarantees for the tenants, and you want guarantees for your firemen, right? So let me tell you, when I load tested, and let's see, I'm gonna go into the guarantee in a second. So 3x5, each fireman weighs 150 pounds plus minus, plus 100 pounds of gear. He's at 250, right? 10 firemen will bring me how many pounds at 250? 2,500 pounds. Can I get 10 firemen in the middle on that fire escape? Can I get 5 firemen in a 3x5 square with all 8 gear on? And that's 1,250 pounds, and this thing will take 1,500. So I can't even get 5 firemen into that box. The average person is $1.50. Can I get 10 150-pound people in a 3x5 square? Not unless they're doing piggyback rides, right? So this thing is overbuilt. This thing is built. So if this fire escape is in good condition, see all these people? This is fine. There's nothing wrong with this. It'll carry that load. Every bolt on the outside of this fire escape is made to carry 150 pounds per square foot. I mean 100 pounds per square foot. What about the connections into the building? Who knows, right? So we're looking for guarantees. So if I got liability, the city's got liability, the tenant's got liability. So the code is very simple. I have to satisfy you with some sort of inspection, critical inspection, or load test it. You were looking for the word guarantee, right? So if I load test it, let me tell you how we all get a guarantee. I load test it, I put weight on it, I don't care if it falls or not, because then I get something to fix, and the guy's gonna pay me anyway, right? So I load test it and it passes, I have no liability. I load test it, I give you a certificate that says it passes, you have no liability. The owner gets the certificate that says I load tested it and it passed, he has no liability. A week later, a bunch of people get on it, the thing collapses to the ground. Do I have any liability? I load tested it and it passed that day. But a week later it fell. Do I have any liability? I have no liability. I did what the law said. Do you have any liability? A week later it collapses. There's going to be an investigation, but we did everything possible, right? The law said load tested. I did. You got a document that said it was load tested. You did. The owner got his paper, so those 5 or 10 dead people on the ground, we're going to investigate to see what occurred, but believe me, it had nothing to do with the load test, because it passed that day. So that's a great guarantee for you, right? Now let's take a look at another form of guarantee. If I take a tread, which represents railings, connections, and I have 4 bolts in it, and the bolts are 50 to 75 years old, nice and square, or rivets, I can look at it as much as I want, but unless I x-ray or do a load test, can I pass that tread? So I have to load test treads, railings, supports in order to get the guarantee that you're looking for. But if I took a tread and I took out the rivets or the square head bolts and I put in brand new bolts, do I have to load test that tread now? I do. I got brand new bolts in it. Well, if I'm going to load test it, then I don't have to change the bolts. But if I change the bolts, I don't have to load test it anymore because I eliminated the concern you had, and that's an old bolt. Well, let me take that old bolt out, put a brand new bolt in. Once you put in a brand new bolt, you don't need to load test it because the day you put up a brand new fire escape, you don't load test it that day. But as soon as I change out all the bolts on a fire escape, so if I refurbish an entire fire escape because it is 50 to 75 years old, even though all the connections have no rust on it, to give you the guarantee you're looking for, I can only either load test it or I can refurbish it. And that means taking out all the old bolts. Am I correct? That's going to eliminate about 97% of all the connections on a fire escape, right? But what about that thing sticking in the building, those pieces that's sticking 8 to 12 inches into the building? What do we do about that? I can drill it, I can get exposure from the inside, I can do some destructive testing and go and take pictures of it for you and verify that it's in A1 condition, right? And on average, that could cost me anywhere from $200 to $400 a piece. If I've got 10 connections on a fire escape, that's a lot of destructive testing on the wall, right? Otherwise, the only other option I have is load test it, is that correct? Either do some of this investigation and prove to you, otherwise you will order a load test on that thing, right? So you're saying, I'm sorry that you have to do this investigative activity, but now that's $200 to $400 per support. With a mason involved, opening up some bricks or drilling a hole next to it, putting in a probe to photograph the steel in. How about if I just eliminate all that? And about 5 inches away from every support that stays, and I repack it and it stays good, I put an epoxy bolt 5 inches away, or a new through bolt into the building, a brand new one. And I forget about verifying the old one, I let sleeping dogs lie, and I give you a brand new 3/4 epoxy bolt into that 75 to 100-year-old building. Satisfied now? Give you a brand new connection. Now we're at 200% on every connection into the building. Still want me to load test it? Or have I eliminated the need for a load test by duplicating the connection, the unknown connection into the building? No. The load test is when we're trying to verify an existing connection. But as soon as you have a brand new connection, there's no need for a load test because every time I put up a brand new fire escape, I never need to load test it. The fact that I put up a brand new one, that new connection is a verifiable connection. It's called a verification of a connection. 97% of your fire escape is outside, and every one of those is verifiable because as soon as I change out a bolt, it's verifiable. I just change the bolt. So let's go through the bolt process, ready? And because you want a guarantee. I need a guarantee, I need to eliminate liability, you need. So how can I give you a guarantee if I just refurbish this fire escape, which includes 100% of the change of all the bolts, because the fire escape was 50 to 75 years old, and I reconnected it with new epoxy bolts from Hilti into the building at every connection. I do that, I give you a certificate, and I refurbished and retied it back into the building and kept the existing structure.
You know what you went into?
Yeah, we have to.
Well, no, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I mean, assuming all that it's a good masonry wall, assuming all those things. A week later, this fire escape pulls off the building. Nobody dies, but the whole fire escape pulls off the building. Or treads shear. Who's got the liability now because a brand new bolt sheared? Who's got the liability? Me, the city, or the tenant? There's a brand new bolt sheared on the tread.
You'll have to have documentation on the material that your bolt was made of.
Correct. So now you're getting right to it. It says, who's got the liability? The bolt company that sold me some bolt, because bolts don't shear. But if a bolt does shear, a week after we certified it to give you the guaranteed word that you're looking for, everybody's suing the bolt company. Oh, but it also pulled away from the building. Just like in Boston in the tunnel, the guy's driving his wife, brand new wife, to the airport because he's going on his honeymoon, and what fell on his head and killed her? One of those slabs. And what were they held up with? Hilti bolts. What did they sue? The bolt company, the Hilti bolt fastener company. And one of the things that they found, that they were all improperly installed. But, do you understand? You're looking for me to give you guarantees. Not just me. Any structural engineer is going to look at any of your fire escapes. You want 2 guarantees. And you're going to constantly say, because you're going to write here's the words you're going to write on all your violations from now on, and I'll explain. Repair, paint it, test it. You'll never write a scrape and paint violation. You'll never identify a tread or support or anything on a fire escape. You'll always write repair it, paint it, test it. Because you're always going to get people calling you back saying, what's this violation? What do you mean? Well, the word repair means fix it. He goes, fix what? He goes, that's not for me to decide. That's why you need to hire a structural engineer. That structural engineer is going to tell you and me what the plan is going to be to repair your fire escape. Paint it. Well, you need, once it's repaired, and only after it's been repaired will I allow you to paint it. And by the way, the EPA's kicked in now, so all fire escapes that are older than 1978 have what on them? Lead, so everybody who's going to touch it has to be a licensed renovator, which is an easy thing, but they have to be a licensed renovator to collect all these chips correctly. And then the third one, it says test. What's the word test mean? That word means load test. Unless you satisfied me, because I'm going to put all the power back in your hand, unless you and your inspector, your structural engineer or your fire escape engineer, has proven to me and given me the guarantee. The only two ways to give guarantees nowadays: load test it, because your fire escape is 50 to 75 years old. What happens if you got a 25-year-old fire escape? You want to load test it, or you want to refurbish it if it's only 25 years old? Or do you want to discuss that with the structural engineer? Because you have a couple of brand new ones, right? That you don't have to go so, but who needs to be proven? Who needs to be satisfied? You guys. If you guys are not satisfied, you know what you pull out of your pocket all the time? When somebody kind of painted it themselves, it's the work, you know, everybody's playing games with you. What do you pull out? You pull out the load test. Because their inspector, their structural engineer just blew you off, called you crazy. You're like, okay, then there's only two things that will get a guarantee in my city or my town. Load tested, or satisfy me that the refurbishment or the game plan met my satisfaction. When's the last time you let somebody put in an entire sprinkler system in a building without ever talking to you? When's the last time anybody put in a central station or put in alarms in the building and never talked to you? Just said, hey, come on down, we're done. We've been at it for a while, and what do you think? But it's done, by the way. It's what do you think, but it's done. Hope you like it, because that's what you get. Well, that's what people have been doing with fire escapes. And here's how they've been getting away with fire escapes. If you paint a fire escape, do you need a permit? No. If you repair a fire escape, you need a permit. You repair anything, you need a permit. Repair a porch, permit. You repair structural, anything that's structural, you need a permit.
I think with repair, you don't. It falls under maintenance.
Maintenance need any kind of permit? You guys have to sort of work that out, because a lot of times, if you are touching a fire escape, it's a life safety issue. If I'm touching a sprinkler system, do I need a permit?
It depends what you're doing.
Exactly. I'm doing a full refurb on a fire escape.
If you're doing maintenance on the sprinkler system, you don't need to pull a permit for that.
What kind of maintenance? Overhaul, repair? I'm talking about it's a broken system. I have a broken sprinkler system. Do I need a permit to fix it?
Well, it depends upon your town.
Exactly.
Where it is.
I'm trying to say, where I'm trying to push you guys to is that if you have only two choices on the fire escape, load test it or refurbish it, what are you going to look for so you can have some assistance and additional eyeballs on it? You want a repair permit or not?
But the bitter reality is, when I get the letter from the structural engineer that says that I have inspected, I've done whatever this fire escape is, whatever word he wants to use.
But then,
that's my guarantee, because if anything happens, it's going to be like, excuse me, right here.
okay. And if I was to show you that the structural engineers who are great with bridges and are great with buildings look at fire escapes as the trash can of the industry, 6 times the work, 1/6 the pay. A lot of them do what's called drive-bys, and they'll roll down a window, look out the window, and give that piece of paper to somebody who'll give them anywhere from $300 to $500. If I show you a couple of those, and you start losing confidence in these structural engineers. And I've created a confidence test that I'm showing you so that the next time you get, and I'm going to put your name on top of that confidence test, which is an industry standard confidence test that Seattle copied from me, and now is online, so you can go to seattle.org and download their Word document, and you change your name on top, or we can do it for you. And now this document is no longer, do you accept from a structural engineer, oh, the fire escape is structural style and has been kept painted. Because that is where, you should put that in the library room, which is the bathroom, so that's where that paper belongs. Because when you look at the confidence test, you're going to start saying, oh my God, there's specific questions in here that most structural engineers don't want to answer. Have you looked at all the connections? Is there no rust in any of the supports? Have you verified the connections into the wall? When you read the list, you're like, my God, you throw that letter back to somebody, you just got a certificate that says the fire escape at 1 Main Street is fine. You send him that certificate, you say, refill it out and answer these questions. He goes, I'm not going to sign that document. Say, why not? Then you don't have a guarantee. So that's what we're here to tell you, is that there's some documentation we're going to put in your hands that's going to make everybody do the right thing. Structural engineers now have a document they need to fill out. That's an industry standard confidence test with yes, no questions that will put their liability on the line. We have repair guidelines for vendors who are going to fix fire escapes that will put liability and responsibility on the line. And we have paint information for you that makes sure that the painters are not, contaminating an apartment full of lead dust and lead chips. So we're here to give you all this information. That's that packet I give you. We'll go into it a little bit more deeper. Here's what happened in Boston. We had a fire escape, and so on July 22 of 1975, and I believe it's 1973, this happened on Marlborough Street. You guys remember this? One of the most famous photographs was this. Now, if you look on, if you open up your books and you start looking inside, you can see a nice big poster of that. If you want to use that, you can use that to basically remind you as to, who does or where do fire escapes basically do their most damage, and the most damage they do, believe it or not, is with people and with firemen. And if you can all pass a card, there's the same photograph on the back. You can use that in your wallet, because every now and then, when somebody's giving you a hard time about a fire escape, you can send them that and say, hey, this is the problem. So you can put the poster in your office. Now this fireman, he survived with one hand. That's the 4th floor of Marlborough Street, which is now Millionaires Road now in Boston. She died, the niece landed on her and survived. Okay? And this is what you're concerned about, when all of a sudden fire escapes that are supposed to save lives end up taking a life. Okay? Take a look at live load testing. If you're near a college, what do kids do in these parades? Out of their dorms?